Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the companion video here on my YouTube channel. What's a companion video? Well, every day on the John Campus Show and on Open Mic in the afternoons, we take live questions, but we don't always have time to get to all of the live questions. So what I do to make sure you know that when you send in those live questions, they do get answered in a video, I take those unused questions and I bring them over here and to get addressed on the companion video. So with that all out of the way, we got a bunch of questions to get to today and get caught up on. So let's get things rolling, and we'll start off with this. Paul Niranjan writes, "Hey John, is it true, due to the success of Mission Impossible Fallout, that there might be a little issue with Man of Steel 2? No, not at all. Like, some people are thinking, first of all, I saw this thing going around. Some people were saying, oh, if Mission Impossible 2 is a big success, Henry Cavill won't want to do Man of Steel 2 because now he's going to be more popular. But what? No. First of all, the success of Mission Impossible Fallout would have no real impact on the career of Henry Cavill or what he decides to do. The flopping of Mission Impossible Fallout, were that to have happened, also really wouldn't have had an effect on him, one way or the other. And it certainly wouldn't have had any effect on the chances or possibilities of a Man of Steel 2. Look, Man of Steel 2 either is or isn't going to happen. Whatever happened with a Paramount film of a different action franchise, in this case Mission Impossible, really wasn't going to have any bearing whatsoever. Warner Brothers is either going to do a Man of Steel 2 or they're not. And I can guarantee you the success or the theoretical failure, had that happened, of Mission Impossible Fallout wouldn't have had any impact on it whatsoever. All right, let's move on here to the next question. And the next question comes to us from Preston Walden, who writes, "We are Venom. I am Groot. Be an awesome meeting." Well, I mean, yes, if all Venom ever said was, "We are Venom, yes. But no, one of the cool things, and you guys know I don't like everything being in shared cinematic universes, but one of the cool things about the shared cinematic universe stuff is that you can get these pairings and meetings that in bygone eras you'd only ever be able to dream about. Like, who would have ever thought we'd see big significant scenes in screen time with Thor of Asgard and a talking raccoon named Rocket? Who would have ever thought we would have seen that kind of a pairing? Like, almost never, right? And so now, with the possibility existing of, it looks like maybe X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that kind of stuff may come over into the MCU. It's not a done deal yet, but it looks like it's all heading that way. With the possibility that somewhere down the line that the MCU could just get back the rights to Spider-Man and all the Spider-Man universe characters, it affords us the luxury of fantasizing a little bit, fan fantasy a little bit about, imagine Groot and Venom on screen together. And it just opens up a lot more possibilities. Let me ask you guys something. What is understanding that, the MCU in another year or 2 or 3 or 4 could be a whole lot even bigger? What are some dream matchups you'd love to see on screen of characters that maybe before we never would have thought we'd see on screen? Jump into the comments section and let me know what you guys think. All right, let's move on here. Koba writes, "I have one question. Who is Riot?" Well, okay, so for those of you who don't even know what Koba's talking about, in the Venom trailer, we see near the end, Riz Ahmed, his character, is with a symbiote, and he's fighting Tom Hardy and his symbiote, which is, of course, Venom. That symbiote that Riz Ahmed is in, that is Riot. Now, Riot comes directly from the comic books. I believe it's Lethal Defender that he comes from, where the Riz Ahmed character and the Life Foundation actually created 5 new symbiotes when they took what they called symbiote seeds out of Venom. And they created these new pairings and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, one of them was called Riot. They've clearly changed Riot a bit from the comic books. That much is clear. But anyway, that's who and what Riot is, which also tells us that there's going to be others in the movie as well. It's not just going to be Venom and Riot. There's going to be a few others as well. Let's see. Marie Seafring writes, "I saw speculation in Godzilla 2, Charles Dance will play an older version of James Conrad, Tom Hiddleston's character from Kong Skull Island. Have you heard anything about this?" Well, yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Kong Skull Island, maybe some of you didn't see, don't realize this, actually happens about 30 years in the past. So Tom Hiddleston's in that movie. We heard at Comic-Con them say that there will be one character that crosses over from Kong into Godzilla 2. Now, assuming he's not meaning any of the monsters or anything like that, you can probably assume, it's probably a little bit safe to assume, it's not a guarantee, but it's probably safe to assume that it's the James Conrad character. And what the theory out there is, and I think there's a lot there to back up this theory, is that Charles Dance, of course from Game of Thrones, and he's the one in the trailer who says, "Long live the king," which is a great line, by the way, in that trailer. There's a predominant theory right now that Charles Dance in that trailer is the one and the same character that Tom Hiddleston played. And there's a few things to back that up. Number one, the age difference is about right. Number two, they're both English actors and apparently are keeping their English accents in it. He is featured in the trailer, so there's some importance to the character. Because you could argue that the big moment of that trailer is him going, "Long live the king." I mean, so there's that too. So all those things, I think, don't prove that Charles Dance is playing Tom Hiddleston's character. But what it does is it backs up that theory. And I'll tell you what, I think it backs it up enough to the point that, yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board with that theory. I believe that they are one and the same character. Now, it's not a guarantee. It may not be. I'm not going to be shocked if we go in to see Godzilla 2 and they end up being two different characters. I'm fine with that. But as of right now, I believe there's enough underlying evidence there to reasonably believe the notion that that's the character that crosses over from King Kong. That's the guy. I believe they are one and the same character. We don't have too much longer to wait until we find out for sure. All right, thanks for the question. Next one. David Hendry writes, I lost it there for a second. There he is. David Hendry writes, "Hey, John, love the show." Thank you so much, David. "My question is, now that the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy has sent a letter calling for Gunn's return, do you think Disney will bring him back? Love from a Scottish pikey." Well, thanks a lot for writing, David. No. Like, first of all, look, just to lay the groundwork, for those of you who haven't heard me talk about this already, I don't believe Disney should have fired Gunn. However, I do understand the predicament they're in. And while if I was in charge with Disney, we would not have fired him, but I understand them feeling the need to do so. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Okay, so I get it. I get why they did it. I do. And I also very much appreciated as a fan that letter that the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy all wrote together and all signed, basically supporting James Gunn and in many ways calling for his return to be brought back to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. However, one of the things that I mentioned right away was that let's understand something here, though. The actors really don't have any leverage here. It's great that the actors showed that sign of unity, wrote that letter, signed that letter, expressed that support for James Gunn. I think that's great. I wish it would do something, but the reality is they don't have any leverage. You know, some people would write to me and say, "But John, couldn't they refuse to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3? No, they have a contract. They can't refuse to do the movie. Well, couldn't they just then phone it in and just, undermine the movie and not give a good performance? Well, that would make them kind of dicks if they did that. They have a contract. As long as Disney's fulfilling their end of the deal and giving them their money, then they owe Disney the best possible performance they can give. So I loved the letter, and I loved that they wrote it, and I respect all of them that much more because they did it. But the reality is they don't have any real leverage. And unfortunately, that letter wasn't going to make Disney change their mind. And it looks like they're not changing their mind. Not that it ever truly, I thought there was a 5% chance that maybe Disney fired Gunn always with the intention of rehiring him later. But it looks like that's not the case. And again, that's fine. That's their prerogative. I understand. Not what I would have done, but I understand. So that's kind of where we're at. So unfortunately, David, no, I don't think the letter is going to make any difference. I really do. I wish it would, but I really don't think it's going to make any difference at all. Terry Kanu Iroigubu. I am butchering your name, Terry. I apologize for that. Can Chris Pratt be considered an A-list actor? Oh, I think so. You know, I mean, it all depends on your definition of A-list actor. Different people have different definitions. For me, A-list is that top tier of actors working right now that if you're a producer of a movie, you want to put them in your movie. For different criteria, whether it's pure talent criteria, whether it's because of their marketability, because of how popular they are, for whatever reason, it's a whole bunch of things that go into making them amongst the top choice. And I do believe that Chris Pratt is in that upper echelon. That when producers are looking to put a movie together and they're looking at who is a star we can put in this thing, I believe Chris Pratt is in that top rung of talent that producers will want to look at. His popularity is undeniable. He's got incredible on-screen charisma and charm. And like I said, he's bankable. He's marketable. Like, no actor is going to make a movie that would have made $1 million into a movie that makes $100 million. No actor on the planet, not The Rock, not anybody can do that. But within certain limitations, there are bankable and marketable stars. Chris Pratt's one of them. He's one of them. Again, he's not going to turn a $5 million movie into a $100 million movie, but it'll turn a $63 million movie into a $71 million movie. I do believe that. So, yeah, I do believe that. I think when you combine the talent with the popularity and all that kind of stuff, I believe he's one of the first guys that producers will look at if they can get to star in their film. So, yeah, I would personally say he is right now, maybe not 3 years from now, whatever, but I believe right now Chris Pratt is an A-list talent. I think he's an A-list actor right now. Let's see. Jonathan Schlecht writes, I read a few articles this morning that reportedly said that Disney won't rehire James for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and that will hold production until they find a new director. What are your thoughts, John? Well, I mean, going back to what we were already kind of talking about with the James Gunn situation, is like, look, when somebody fires somebody, you just assume they're not bringing them back. I believe there was like a 5% chance. I still believe there's probably a 5% chance, which means 95% chance that they won't. So, yeah, I think overall the smart money says they're not bringing him back. The smart money said they were never going to bring him back. So, again, like I said before, not what I would have done. I would have done things differently, but I do understand where they're coming from. What they would be wise to do is, especially with the cast writing that letter, what they would be wise to do, and normally I would not say this is the case, but in this unique situation, I think maybe it would be applicable here. What they would be wise to do is to invite the cast to become a part of the process of finding a new director. That might be awkward, it might be a little painful, and normally I don't think a cast should have any say in who the director is. But in this one unique circumstance, it would probably be wise for Disney to invite those actors who very publicly made a statement of support for James Gunn and their desire that they wanted James Gunn directing this movie. It would be wise for them at this point to invite those actors who may decline, but to invite those actors to become a part of the process of looking for a new shepherd for the series. Again, normally I don't think that's a good idea at all, but in this specific, very unique set of circumstances, it might be smart for them to do. Or maybe not, who knows. The Halo Brony writes, I just saw Coco today. The man tears, Campia. The man tears. Yes, and by the way, why does everybody misspell my last name? Everybody seems to want to put an I in my name. There's no I. It's an E. Anyway. Oh my God, man. It's an emotional movie. That is it's a beautifully crafted movie. I was stunned. Because every once in a while, I go into a Pixar film with some doubts, and I'm always then by the end like, why did I doubt Pixar? Anyway, and I will admit, I went into Coco with some doubts. But oh my God, it is such a beautifully crafted movie. Absolutely beautifully crafted movie. They did a great job with it, and you're right, man, the man tears, dude. Especially at the end with Mama Coco. I'm not going to spoil anything, but at the end with Mama Coco, it's like, oh my God. Like, it's just so well drafted, so well constructed, so well executed. Just a beautifully put together movie, man. And I'm glad you had a chance to watch it, Halo. All right. Octavio A writes, I have seen basically every movie out. I have A-List. That's great. That's the AMC movie membership. My question is, which movie should I see? Skyscraper, The First Purge, or dark web? Thanks, John, and keep up the great work. You know, the funny thing is somebody else asked me that exact same question. They asked me, hey, going to go see a movie this weekend. I'm looking at Skyscraper, Dark Web, and Purge. Which one should I see? So anyway, the answer I'll give to that is the same answer I gave before. The only one of those films that I even think is okay, I did not think The Purge was very good. The Dark Web was not very good. The only one I would say is okay is Skyscraper. I don't think Skyscraper was great either, but I think it's okay. I think Skyscraper's okay. I think if you go to the movies to watch Skyscraper, I don't think you're going to be regretting your decision to go see it. It's okay. So out of those three movies, I would say the one to go see is Skyscraper. Let's see. Cobra writes, Andy Serkis Animal Farm movie for Netflix. Yeah, so Netflix just picked up his Jungle Book movie called Mowgli because Warner Brothers decided to dump it. I mean, there's no getting around that. That was Warner Brothers dumping it. That was a clear sign Warner Brothers had no faith in this movie for whatever reason, whether it's the quality or whether they just believed it represented too big of a marketing challenge or whatever. For whatever the reason is, Warner Brothers loudly declared they had no faith in this movie and they dumped it on Netflix. So there you go. But Netflix seems to be up for the Andy Serkis game, and Andy Serkis has this project he's been trying to get developed, an Animal Farm project, and Netflix has picked it up. So if that's something you've been looking forward to, good news. Someone's going to let him make it, and it's going to be Netflix. Let's see how that turns out. I'm a big Andy Serkis fan, by the way. I love Andy Serkis. And I'm very curious to see Mowgli, and let's see what he does with this Animal Farm thing. All right, Square Buzz HQ writes, date with girlfriend. Should we see Mission Impossible 6 or Christopher Robin? Ooh, good question. Because those are both good date movies. I really do believe good action, exciting movies are good date movies. I really do. But a movie like Christopher Robin is also a terrific date movie. That's a tough choice. You know what? It really all depends on your girlfriend. What type, like, is she the one who likes sweet, endearing, tender, emotional kind of movies? If that's the case, you're going to want to go Christopher Robin. Does she like the good, fun action of a comic book movie or something like that? If that's the case, I would say Mission Impossible 6. Bottom line is, there's no wrong answer. I believe both of these movies are solid date movies. I think you're both going to have a good time at it. Not knowing your girlfriend, I'll say lean towards Christopher Robin. I'll just say that. But it's certainly not a mistake to go to see Mission Impossible 6 either. But if I had to pick one and you're looking for me to do a recommendation, you can't go wrong with Christopher Robin. You can't go wrong with Mission Impossible either, but I'll lean a little bit more towards Christopher Robin as a date movie. But again, if I knew your girlfriend, I might say something completely different. Let's see. Next up, James Diesel writes, what if Joker movie is him on a talk show and uses flashbacks to fill in the backstory, and at the end, he can kill the audience like Dark Knight Returns? Yeah, that's something they could do. I'm not quite sure what your question is, James. What if? Okay, what if that happens? I don't know what your question is. That's a possibility. Again, it's something like they had in The Dark Knight Returns. It's very reminiscent of that. That is something they could do. It doesn't sound like that's the direction they're going in. Listening to the director talk about it and listening to Joaquin Phoenix talk about it, they say it's really a character study and a cautionary tale. I think for a lot of this movie, you're going to see Joker as a good man. But the cautionary tale, we keep hearing the director and Joaquin Phoenix using that phrase, cautionary tale. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when something goes wrong. And that could be it. So definitely the whole studio audience thing and using the story, using the motif of a backflashes and a story being told, using that as a device to tell your story, culminating the end with Joker killing the audience. Yeah, that's something you could do. But it also sounds a little bit comic booky. And it sounds like anything else, this Joker movie will be a little less comic booky at the same time. So it's certainly possible. There is precedent for it. But I don't think that's the direction they're going to go. I think they're going to lean away from that. But it would be something if that's what they did. Let's see. Lincoln Johnson writes, hey, John, do you think a reboot of the pulp comic The Shadow would work? I love the Alec Baldwin movie, and I think today's visual effects would make it great. I love the original Alec Baldwin. By the way, Ian McKellen's in that too. Gandalf Magneto is in that movie. Anyway, I love that movie. I unapologetically love that movie. I get a big kick out of The Shadow. And could it work? Well, it goes back to the whole Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone thing, doesn't it? Anything can work. Any movie about anything can work. If you write it well, direct it well, execute it well. Hell, they made a movie about Legos. Just sit on that for a second. They made a movie about Legos. And it was awesome. Anything can work. Could a Shadow movie work? Yes. It would also be great to have like a new superhero kind of movie that's not in either the MCU or the DC universe. It would be great to get a new superhero movie like that. That would be awesome. I would love to see it. So yeah, it could work. As long as you don't make it for $200 million, like make it for like $90 million or something like that. So if you make $350 million worldwide, you're profitable. Great. I would love to see it. Could it be a complete waste? Could it be a disaster? Absolutely. But could it work? Well, since anything could work, definitely The Shadow is one of those things that could. So I would love to see it personally. All right, let's move on here. Michael Ashton writes, did you see the trailer for Boy Erased? Stacked cast, looks emotionally powerful, one of my most anticipated for the rest of the year, and most importantly, a very promising director. That's the most important thing there. Is Joel Edgerton. He directed that first movie, The Gift, which was amazing. And now he's back directing this as well. He's starring in and directing in it. And you got Nicole Kidman, and you got a great cast. You got a great director, blah, blah, blah. And you got my favorite actor of all time, Russell Crowe, is in there as well. I will admit, and somebody asked me this before, I got to admit, the trailer didn't work for me. And I'll tell you why. Despite the fact that I love Joel Edgerton, I love Nicole Kidman, I love Edgerton and what he's doing directing. It's good subject matter, Russell Crowe, blah, 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 blah. I was expecting to love it. But it did not work for me. And here's why. The entire time I was watching the trailer, I felt like I've seen this movie a couple of times already. I just feel like this whole thing about a Christian family with a gay son sending the son off to an change you from being gay camp. We've seen that movie. That very specific construct, that very specific circumstance has already been done a couple of times. Like starting with "But I'm a Cheerleader," and it's gone on from there. So I couldn't help but feel like I've seen the trailer already before. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to love the movie, because I've been very excited about this movie. I just thought I saw the trailer. It didn't really do anything for me. That does not mean I'm not going to love the movie. So the movie will come out. I'll give it, it's just like, yeah, I just couldn't get around that. It's just like, I feel like this has been done before. I almost feel like this movie is a bit of a cliche at this point. But I love everybody involved. I love the director. I think the subject matter's got a lot of dramatic power to it. So let's wait till I see the movie. I'm just saying that the trailer didn't work all that well for me. All right. Royce Freeman writes, what do you think of franchise films ignoring most of the franchise and making a direct sequel to the original and ending the continuity of the sequels the fans have grown to love? I think it's a good idea. Because, look, especially in the case of Halloween, are there fans who love the franchise of Halloween? Yeah, there are. But there's not many. Certainly not enough that you can make a movie that would actually make any money out of it. Are there fans of the Terminator franchise post-Terminator 2? Yeah, there are. But not enough. You have to do what's good for your story, and you have to do what's good for your franchise. And the reality is this. In showbiz, particularly in television and in radio, there's what's called the 70-30 burn. Okay? Maybe you've heard this before, maybe you haven't. The 70-30 burn is basically this. I'm just going to create a scenario here to give an example of what a 70-30 burn is. 70-30 burn is when, let's say you're running a talk radio show and your numbers aren't great. You're not getting great ratings for your radio talk-in show. So you think of this, a new thing you can do. Whenever you do change on YouTube channels, on radio shows, on TV shows, there's always upheaval. People do not like change. Oh my God, I still remember when I was at AMC and I moved it over to the other place and we just changed the color of the set from red to green. That's it. Everything else is the same. Just change the color. Oh my God, the number of people who lost their minds angry was unbelievable. Oh, I hate this. I don't know if I'm... No, seriously, people writing in to tell me they're not going to watch a show anymore because they didn't like that we had to change the set from red to green. I'm not watching this anymore. This is a stupid change. Like, people hate change. Some people hate change. But what's understood in the entertainment industry is sometimes you need to make changes that will burn 30% of your audience in the hope that you can grow 70%. Sometimes you just have to acknowledge that if we just continue doing what we're doing, we're going to die. Therefore, we need to make a change. And by changing, we realize that we got to be willing to lose up to 30% of our existing audience. Keep on board that 70% in order of finding new audiences to give new life. And it's the 30-70 burn. And it acknowledges that if we just keep doing what we're doing, we are going to die. If we just keep the audience we have, right now, we're going to die. Because it's not enough. We need to make changes that may burn off 30% of the viewers that we currently have, but you have to be willing to make that sacrifice and to lose that 30% in the hopes of growing and to give yourself the potential to grow. And it's the 70-30 burn. That's what it's referred to as. Different people have different iterations of it. That's just the one I've always heard. With something like Terminator, the Terminator franchise has essentially died. People have given up on it. It no longer has the name it used to have. And from their point of view, if we just keep going, we're going to die. We're not getting new audiences. We're not getting new people excited. We've kind of run this thing into the ground with what we've done since. Yes, it has its fans, and we're grateful for those fans who have liked what we've done since Terminator 2. But the fact of the matter is, there's not enough of those people. And if we just cater to that 30%, we're going to die. We need to be willing to make a change. And if that means that change means some people are going to be upset, that's unfortunate, but you got to be willing to do that in order to open up new potential for new growth and bring in new audiences. Everybody wants to pretend that you can keep everybody happy, and that's just not the truth. There is nothing you can do that's going to keep everybody happy. There's nothing you can do that's going to make all the existing fans completely happy and bring in a whole bunch of new fans. That does not exist. Doesn't exist. There may be the odd exception to that rule, but it's very rare and very few and very far between, to the point that you're a fool if you try to employ that as a strategy. You have to be willing to make changes that will burn off 30% of your audience in the hopes of maintaining another 70% of them while gaining new audiences that will exceed that 30%. Franchises like Halloween, franchises like Terminator, they're in that situation. They need to do something different. They need to do something bold, resetting their timeline, saying, hey, ignore all the films that came after Halloween 1. Ignore all the films that came after Terminator 2. We're relaunching from that point on. You got to be willing to make those changes, or you just have to accept that your franchise is going to die. So, will this gambit work? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. But you got to try. You got to try. Because those franchises just weren't going anywhere. If you want to try to keep them alive, you got to try something bold. And I give them full marks for trying. They have given their franchises an opportunity at life now. Whereas before, they had no chance at life. They were doomed. Now, they have a chance at life. Whether or not it works remains to be seen, but they at least had to try. So that's kind of how I feel about that, Royce. All right. Next up comes us from Dave Atkins, who writes, Murphy's death in Robocop still hard to watch. Oh my God, yeah, it is. That is seriously one of the most perfectly shot, traumatic movie moments. His death in that movie is traumatic. It shakes you. It rocks you. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It's in a movie that's known for its great sci-fi thing and the robot cop and blah, blah, blah. and Ed 209, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. That might be the crown jewel of that movie, is how perfectly, stunningly, impactfully shot that scene is. That scene might be the crown jewel of that movie. Because if you don't emotionally feel what you feel in that scene, I don't know that then the rest of the movie resonates with you. That's the scene that emotionally, I believe, at least for me as an audience member, gets me emotionally invested in that movie, that then paid off in huge dividends for the rest of the film. So yeah, I agree. Amazing moment, Dave. All right, Catch-22 Production says, John, it's 12:40 p.m. Eastern, still no Rotten Tomatoes score for Pooh. This was sent in on Friday, and yeah, for whatever reason, or on Thursday, I should say, for whatever reason, Disney, we've been talking about this last couple of days, Disney refused to lift the review embargo for Christopher Robin until the moment it opened in theaters, 7 p.m. on Thursday. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous decision on their part. All it did was scream, "We don't believe in this movie! We don't believe in this movie!" That's all that did. And and there was no need for it, because it's a pretty good little movie. I like it. Not everybody loves it, but I think the majority of people like this movie. And them doing that, I think, was a tremendous mistake. And it's a tremendous disservice to the movie-going audience to not let anybody spill a review about the movie until the movie already opens. That does an incredible disservice to the fans. Because you're saying we're going to take away from the fans their ability and their right to get some more information, to hear some reviews of the product before they go and spend their money on the product. Because that's what it is. The movie-going experience is a product. You're paying time and you're paying money to go and be a consumer and buy that product, buy that experience of going to movies and watch it. And what Disney did by holding off, and I love Disney, everybody knows this, but what Disney did by holding a review embargo until the movie opened in theaters, to the very hour that it opened in theaters, that was a disservice to the fans. It took away their right and their ability to be able to research and hear a little bit about a product that they were thinking about investing their time and money in. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it was pointless because it was a pretty good movie. They didn't need to hide the reviews. So yeah, shame on Disney. Shame on Disney for that. And they didn't need to do it. So I hope they never do that again. I really do, because I'm a big fan of Disney. I love a lot of stuff that they do, but shame on them for that. And I hope they never do that again. Dakota Walker writes, how do TV shows make money and pay actors? Well, it depends on the TV network. Like traditional TV, they make all their money from sponsorships, the commercials and things like that. That's how they generate their money, and they pay their actors out of their own pockets, and they hope to make money with sponsorships. TV shows on streaming services like HBO or Netflix, they generate their money from subscribers, and then they budget out how much money they're going to use to make a TV show, and that's what they pay their actors out of. So it's commercials on television, subscription service fees on the other types of networks. Ahmad Pittman writes, what types of movies are Oscar movies? Only dramas? No, any kind of movies can be an Oscar movie. Any kind of movie. That's why you get like Heath Ledger's Joker winning Best Supporting Actor. That's why you get Lord of the Rings winning Best Picture at the Academy Awards. That's why you get all that kind of stuff. Now, traditionally, dramas are the better movies, traditionally. But, I mean, no, any movie can be an Oscar movie. That's why Logan can be nominated for Best Screenplay at the Academy Awards. I mean, so, yes, any film can be an Oscar movie. It just generally works out that a lot of the thrillers, the dramas, things like that, tend to get the better storytellers, and those tend to be the better quality movies. Tend to be. Not always, obviously, but that's just what happens. But we're moving into a more diverse era now where like comic book movies are getting better and better and better and better. Sci-fi movies are getting better and better and better and better. You're getting filmmakers now that before never would have gone close to a comic book movie. Now the great directors are doing comic book movies. Now the great directors are doing more genre types of films as well. It's a changing format. But no, any kind of movie can be an Oscar kind of movie. Oz Design writes, John, big fan since the Curtain days. Thanks so much, Oz. Since Disney bought Fox, by the way, remember, Disney does not own Fox yet. They won't for at least another year. Just keep that in mind. Since Disney bought Fox, Do you think the Simpsons and Marvel property theme parks will move to Disney World? It really all depends. Like, for example, The Simpsons is at Universal Studios. But Universal Studios isn't Fox. They just have the rights to have The Simpsons as a main attraction, this whole Simpsons area. It's amazing. I love the Simpsons area at the Universal theme park. But it really all depends on how long they have the rights to that for. Because they have a contract. Disney has to honor whatever that contract is. So if Universal has a contract that says for another 50 years, they get to have The Simpsons there, or indefinitely, in perpetuity, then there's nothing Disney can do. If they have a contract that says, Universal only has the rights to have the Simpsons characters for another 5 years, then they can only have it for another 5 years. Then they can do that in Disney World if they want to. But it really all depends. I have a feeling that's probably a long-term contract that they have. So I wouldn't expect to see Simpsons in like a Disneyland or anything like that anytime soon. Because I got a feeling, I don't know this. I'm saying I have a feeling that that's probably, the contract with Universal is probably a very long-term contract. So yeah, that's my guess at any rate. Okay, Gabe Campbell writes, what does Dave write? Is it possible that DC has moved on from Matt Reeves' version of the Batman? We keep getting rumors, but nothing from Reeves except a tweet. Then he gets a Netflix deal. What's the deal, man? Yeah, well, it has been frustrating to me seeing Matt Reeves doing all this other stuff while everybody just sits and waits for any news about Batman. I mean, he was announced as the director of the new Batman and writing the new script over a year ago and nothing. And yet he's had all this free time to put all these other projects together, pen a new deal with Netflix, do this, producing that, blah, blah. And yet here we are, still no Batman. I've been frustrated with that. I'm sure many of you have been frustrated with that. However, just the other day, Matt Reeves gave an update. And we talked about it on the John Campy show the other day. He gave an update. He said he's probably within a week of being able to turn in the first draft. That means the script's nowhere near done, but the first draft is nearly done. So he said within about a week he should be turning in the first draft. He said it's not an origin story. It's not based on Batman Year One. It's going to have some focus on him as the world's greatest detective. So, and he said maybe by summer of 2019 we'll be able to start shooting. So that's a good year away. If everything goes according to his plan, we're a year away from them starting to shoot, which means if that happens, we're probably looking at an early 2021 or a late 2020 Batman movie. So it looks like Matt's still working on it and it's coming, and maybe in 2020, early 2021, we're going to get our Batman movie. But there's still a lot of unanswered questions. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. Radhames Riaz writes, if you were the owner of MoviePass, what would you do to save it with all the competition? I think if I were in charge of MoviePass right now, what I would do is this. I would kill it and rebrand it. Because now the MoviePass name is a joke. So I would kill it and rebrand it. Call it, I don't know, call it Screen Club. I mean, not really, but just some other name, right? Relaunch it. Say we are relaunching MoviePass as Screen Club, and totally rewrite the rules and never change the rules. MoviePass has changed the rules so many times in just a year. It's crazy. You can't go see more than one movie. Now you can. Or you can't see a movie twice. Well, now you can. Oh, you can see any movie anytime. Oh, now you can't see opening movies for the first 2 weeks. Oh, it's $10. Oh, now it's $15. Oh, you can't go to those theaters. Oh, now you can't. Like, it's just, nobody knows what's up anymore. So what I would do is I'd say we are relaunching MoviePass. MoviePass is gone. Welcome to Screen Club. Again, that's a terrible name, but they would come up with something better. Screen Club. $20 a month, not limited to any movie chain. I understood their restrictions on no Prime, 3D, IMAX. That's a good rule because that saves them some money. So I like that rule. So implement that and really highlight that the advantage of their thing, and limit the amount of movies you can see. Limit it to 10 movies a month. You can see up to 10 movies a month. That's great. That's a great deal. Say you can see up to 10 movies a month at any theater chain Not specialty screenings, though. Not 3D, not IMAX, not Prime, not Dolby, not 4DX, not any of that stuff, but regular theaters in any chain, and really highlight that, because that's the big advantage that Cinemia and what MoviePass could have. That's the big advantage they have over something like an AMC A-List, is that you can use it in more than one theater chain. So I would put heavy, heavy emphasis on that. So I would say $20 a month, maybe not even 10 movies, maybe like 8 movies a month. That's plenty. 99% of the general movie-going audience do not go to more than 8 movies a month, believe me. So say 8 movies a month, any theater chain, $20. You can see movies more than once if you like. And I would figure out a way to partner with Fandango and Atom Tickets to say you can buy your movies in advance online through Fandango or Atom Tickets. Work out a deal with Fandango and Atom Tickets. Let people buy their tickets online in advance. Hell, maybe even make it $25 a month. $25 a month is still great. Go to see 2 movies is more than paid for itself. So I would rebrand it, new name, new rules, limitations, 8 movies a month. That's tons. Make a deal with Fandango and Atom Tickets so people can buy their tickets in advance online and still have certain limitations in place. There. It doesn't guarantee you're going to survive. It might be way too late for that, but I think that gives them a fighting chance. And then be transparent and open with your customers. Stop lying to them and stop trying to strong arm and blackmail movie studios and movie theaters into forcing them to give you a cut of their action. Survive as your own business. If they can do that, I think they have a shot. And again, really hammer home the big advantage of their product, which is you can go to any movie theater. Not any screen, but any movie theater. You're not just limited to AMC. You're not just limited to Regal. You're not just limited to Cinemark. You're not just limited to Landmark. Any theater. Just not the IMAX 3D or whatever special screens. And I think they have a shot. I think they have a shot at that point. Let's see. Sean Carson writes, proof that film is subjective. I hated Arrival. Yeah, a lot of people love Arrival. I liked Arrival. A lot of people said I hated it just because I said it wasn't in my top 10 films of the year. And they said, oh, Campy hates Arrival. No, it just wasn't in my top 10. That's all. Anyway, I like it, but not everybody does. And you're right. All film is subjective. All right. And the final email today that we're going to cover comes to us from Anthony Franco, who writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Anthony. With Venom and Joker getting their own movies, do you think if they are successful, the MCU will try a solo villain, a solo villain movie? Well, here's the thing, though, about your question, Anthony. Venom's not a solo villain movie. Venom's the hero in that movie. He's an anti-hero, sure, but he's still the hero. He's not the villain. Riot's the villain. The other symbiotes are the villains. I guess you could call Venom a dark hero, anti-hero, whatever. But he's not a villain. So it's not a movie about a villain. It's just not. The Joker movie, too, the way they're describing it, it sounds like most of it, it's just going to be about a tragedy. It's going to be about a guy who's a good guy that tragically becomes something else. So it's not really a movie about the villain. Like, it's not a movie that starts with the bad guy hatching a nefarious plan and killing all these people and succeeding in all of his evil plans. Well, like, so I don't really see, and then again, Joker may turn out to be different. I'm just saying from what I'm hearing them describe it as, I don't really think this Joker movie nor this villain movie or this Venom movie is a movie about villains. It's about characters we traditionally identify as villains, but within the movies themselves, they're not the villains. So, I don't know. Could I see MCU doing similar types of movies? Yeah, like a Loki movie where he's actually the hero. Sure. I don't know. Who's another MCU villain here that they've used? I don't know. Whatever. Take Ghost from Ant-Man 2. Make another movie, make a Ghost standalone movie, but Ghost is actually the hero. I mean, that's exactly the type of situation you're getting with Venom and whatnot. So I don't really see those as movies that are going to be about villains doing villainous things. It's a little bit different. So I don't know if that'll change things for the MCU at all, because I really don't think those are the types of movies they're making anyway. But anyway, you see what I'm getting at. Okay, guys. that will do it for today's installment of the companion videos. Thanks for being here. So get all cut up here and get all this stuff organized so you can be a part of. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. Don't forget the John Campea Show returns tomorrow morning, Monday, of course, at 9 a.m., covering all the big movie news and all the big movie talk. It's always a lot of fun. Then, of course, in the afternoons at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we just have open mic, all open forum discussion questions. Can't wait for you guys to join me there. And maybe I'll do a little bit of Warcraft streaming later tonight. We'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.